What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Snowcast Sports Talk episode 9. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. I apologize for a little bit of a break here in the episodes. I know the last one we did was all the way back last Tuesday. Honestly, it's been a little bit quiet for the Giants over the past week. We kind of finished free agency. Draft is about 18 days away. So we're kind of in this middle mode where it's actually kind of quiet right now. I know I've talked about the offseason actually having a lot going on. Beginning of April until the end of April, things do quiet down a little bit, so that is where we are now. This will be a shorter episode, I believe. We'll see how long it goes. But we're just going to talk about a few things. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So, first thing I want to talk about was the Giants starting their voluntary workout sessions. So, since the Giants have a new coaching staff, Giants players and coaches are allowed to come back and start practicing as a team last Monday, which I believe was either April 4th, 5th, or 6th. And so what happened was Brian Daboll, his coaching staff, and then the Giants players that wanted to come came. So that will be a point of discussion. We will talk about players that did not show up. But it is called voluntary workouts, so people can show up if they want, or if they don't want to, they don't have to, and it's absolutely no problem. But in them showing up, we actually got some interviews. So, sorry, I am dealing with allergies, by the way, so if I go a couple times, it is because I'm dealing with allergies. But we got to get a couple interviews with Brian Daboll, Daniel Jones, and then a couple other players as well. And so I kind of wanted to break down and go through those and just kind of give some quick notes on what I heard. Links will be down below if you guys are interested in listening to them as well. I will put on the side here, Brian Daboll, this is his interview. Audio's not there, don't want to get copyrighted, but we will start talking about Brian Daboll. So Brian Daboll was the first person interviewed, new head coach of the New York Giants. And I just want to say he did a really great job on his interview. I think one of the things I've been hearing going around is Brian Daboll is too nice. And Brian Daboll will get eaten up by the media when things get hard. I believe this interview we just watched absolutely disproved that. I think he did an outstanding job. Now, it's just a first interview on voluntary workouts. It'll be interesting to hear an interview after a loss. That'll be when it's interesting. But he handled the media very well. They were asking him some bait questions. So, they asked him about players who weren't there, and he deflected those very well. They asked him about draft picks and who he expects or who he prefers in, an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, and all the other positions. He did a very, very good job moving on from that. And then he was also very respectful and answered things in a very, very mannered way. Brian Daboll is very cool, calm, and collected. And he did a very good job. He talked about, he didn't want to create expectations. He just wanted to move day by day and build on those days and build the right culture. And he did a really good job. Again, I implore you all to go listen. It's down below. But he did a very, very good job. So happy with him. Next, we had Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is the current quarterback of the New York Giants. And the real big conversation here was about his play over the past few years. So as we talked about on this podcast, he has struggled as the quarterback of the New York Giants. Water here for the allergies, excuse me. His play has struggled. And the owner of the Giants came out a couple weeks ago and said, we've done everything possible to screw this kid up. So the media asked him, are they right? Is he right? Has this franchise done everything to screw you up? And Daniel Jones could have easily said, yes, absolutely. But instead, all he talked about was taking responsibility for what he's done on the field and how it's not good enough, and how he needs to be better, and how he's working on getting better, and he's confident in this staff and this team to show improvement. He did a really good job. There's a lot of ums and uhs and, pauses in his answers as he's being very thoughtful about what he says. But he did a very good job and deflected all the tough questions. They asked, should Joe Judge have been fired? He deflected that very well, and he just talked about taking responsibility for his mistakes in the past and then wanting to get better. So I don't think anyone would ever say Daniel Jones doesn't do a good job with the media or isn't a hard worker or isn't a smart person. It's just his decision-making on the field at times is questionable, and his injury-prone problems are concerning as well. So hopefully this coaching staff can help with both of those. Next, we had Sterling Shepard and Blake Martinez. I kind of want to lump these guys together. both injured, both veteran players on multi-year deals with the Giants that were pretty expensive. Joe Schoen actually gave them both, or reworked their contracts to give them pay cuts, but keep them in New York. And this was really good because Joe Schoen actually saved more money by renegotiating with them than cutting them. Because if you cut them, you still owe them a certain amount of money no matter what. You can't cut a player and he doesn't get paid anything. So, like, Sterling Shepard was supposed to make, I think it was like $12 million. If we had cut him, we still would have had to pay him $8 million, but then we wouldn't have had the player. So I believe Joe Schoen actually saved more money, and we get to keep Sterling Shepard and Blake Martinez, so they fill some holes on a roster that already is missing holes. So both of them were interviewed on this as well. They both were very much, they said they, had faith in this new coaching staff. They deflected questions about the old coaching staff well. They talked about how they wanted to stay here for their families, how the pay cuts didn't bother them, and they were looking forward to proving themselves. And overall, their charisma was pretty high. That was really the thing I was curious about. Were they going to seem, cheerful, hopeful, excited? And both of them did, which was really good. I was really interested in what these first interviews were going to sound like. It sounds like Dave's put some pretty good first steps in this system with this team, and it sounds like he laid a pretty good foundation just in the first day to get everyone excited about the direction they're going to be moving in. So that was awesome. And then finally, they had Xavier Mckinney. Xavier McKinney is one of my favorite players on the New York Giants. He is a young, extremely talented free safety we have, and he is one of the guys the Giants will build around, who had an amazing year 2 last year, and I'm hoping he does really good things in year 3. So they interviewed him. He talked about, being a leader on this team. Now there's no Jabril Peppers. There's no Logan Ryan, who both played his position and were both in the secondary of the defense with him. He talked about how he's always been prepared to be a leader, and he's been preparing, and these guys have taught him so much, and he's excited to make that next step, and the Giants are going to build around him, and I'm honestly just really excited about it. So, again, overall, the interviews went really well. Link will be down below. All the players and the coaches seemed excited. Good questions were asked. The players and coaches did a good job deflecting, answering the questions. It looked like high energy. So overall, I was really looking forward to this, and I left very, very happy. So that is always, always good news. Whew. Let me get another drink of water here. Just as a note, this is, again, a repeat recording. Like, every time I do a podcast alone, I have to repeat record. I'm thinking about looking for a co-host. So if anyone in the chat is interested in possibly being a co-host on this podcast with me, put a comment down below. Maybe we can chat, because doing these alone is difficult, especially for me. Next topic. With these voluntary workouts, some players are bound not to show up. I want to talk about 2 players that didn't show up. We had James Bradbury, the 30-year-old cornerback who is really likely to be traded or released before or during the draft for the New York Giants. And then Kadarius Toney, our young first-round pick wide receiver from last year. Starting with Bradbury, absolutely understand why he's not here. Don't show up. You're getting traded or released. There is obviously conversations he's had with the team. He knows he's not coming back. No point to show up. At least I hope that's the case. If they're not sure and he's not showing up, that'd be concerning, because if he shows up, there could be some gaps in some knowledge. But overall, I don't think it's a big deal. I think we're going to trade or release him. He has a big cap hit. I think it's of about $12 or $13 million. So we're trying to trade him. The Chiefs have come in, and a couple other teams. So we'll see if he gets traded, but he's not going to show up to a team's voluntary camp when he knows he's probably not going to be there. The second guy was Kadarius Toney. Now, this one has the Giants fans up in arms. You have people who are Kadarius Toney like sympathizers, and they're like, who the hell cares? It's voluntary workouts. Then you have other people that are like, this is a new coaching staff. Every player should be here. The coach and the GM have talked about how much they like you. You not showing up is creating a bad image. You showing up is not getting yourself prepared. And I personally lean somewhere in the middle to he probably should have shown up. People who don't think he should have shown up, I think, are completely justified. I'm not like hard stancing that he had to be there, but I don't think he's creating the best situation for him. Joe Schoen, during one of his press conferences, said basically verbatim, Kadarius Toney is not someone we want to trade. We want Kadarius Toney on this team. Brian Daboll's talked about how excited he is to work with a player like Kadarius Toney. And so for him not to show up on these voluntary workouts does bum me out a little bit. Now, Kadarius Toney is actually a rapper on the side. He's not just a football player. He is actually a rapper as well. I think his name it's something Joka. I'm not sure, but he could be focusing on his music right now. Again, this is voluntary. He does not have to show up. But people have brought up he's had some injury problems, so being in the building and getting your body right's important. He's had some character issue problems, I guess. He did punch a Cowboy in the head in the middle of a game last year and got kicked out of the game. But then during that game against the Cowboys before, he showed signs of superstardom and just some of the most freak athletic skills I've seen. So it's a bummer he wasn't there. I think the coaching staff and the GM and their staff all really like Kadarius, and they want him to work out as a Giant. He might not fit their culture. I don't think they're going to get rid of him by any means. They will not trade him and they will not release him. But I hope when he does show up, things go well. I hope he gets this offense down. I hope he stays healthy. He had a lot of injury problems last year. That was really a thing that was concerning. And so one of the things you can do in the offseason when you have injury problems is just, being in the building or, getting your body right outside of the building. It's not verified that he's working on a rap album. He might be just training on his own. I know Tom Brady does that, and a lot of other players do that as well. But either way, he didn't show up. Giants fans are freaking out. I personally think he should have shown up. It would have put a good image, or it would have shown good... It would have been a good sign to see Kadarius there, being a young player that the team wants to build around. And really, a lot of leaders show up to these voluntary workouts, so him not being there, maybe he's not one of the leaders of this team going into the future. So, definitely too bad. Giants fans are heated about this, though. This is not something that is just a conversation. I've seen people get very, very heated about should he have shown up or should he not. So I guess let me know down below if he should have shown up or not. I personally think he should have. It probably would have been the better choice. Is it a big deal he didn't show up? Hopefully not. I don't think so. But I remember he didn't show up last year, and people definitely brought that back up when things weren't working out with him. So, let's say this year in 22, he has some character issues. He has some injury issues. People are going to bring up that he didn't show up to the voluntary workouts. Correlated or not, they're going to bring it up, Being in New York, the media is just going to use whatever they can, and... So it could be a problem. I personally really like Kadarius, so I hope it works out. Okay. See, I've already gotten through 2 of the 4 topics I wanted to talk about today. And we're only 13 minutes in. So this might be a shorter episode. Excuse me. Okay. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the draft. So we have the draft in about 18 days, and things are really starting to heat up on where the Giants are going to go. For anyone who's not aware, the Giants own the 5th and the 7th pick in the top 10 picks of this draft, which is absolutely amazing. It is one of the good things Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge did before they left. We did pass up on some good players last draft, but we got the Bears' first-round pick, so we have the 7th pick, and then we have the 5th pick. So we're trying to figure out now where the Giants are going to go with these picks. So, Giants website, we did this a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to go through and take a look at some of the draft picks that are possible for us to take. I'm hoping they have trade back scenarios in this case, but if they don't, we will talk about that. So going down, we have Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Media. So at pick 5, we have Eke Ekwonu. Eke Ekwonu, guys, is an offensive tackle. We have talked about how we need to fix the offensive line. If we are able to land Eke Ekwonu, that would be absolutely amazing. Some people think he is the best lineman in the draft. I tend to believe Evan Neal is the best lineman in the draft, but Eke Ekwonu would be great. When did this come out, by the way? This came out 2 days ago. So... And then they have us taking Jermaine Johnson with pick number 7. Jermaine Johnson had the most sacks in college football last year, from what I have read. He is an absolutely explosive player. Putting him next to Azeez Ojulari would be really, really great, and I think he has a lot of upside. Picking him at 7 might be a little bit high. I would love for the Giants to trade back to like 9 or maybe like 13 through 15 and then be able to get him. But we'll see. I guess, you know what? I want to talk about trading back for a second. So there's 2 reasons I think the Giants should trade back, and neither of them are super sexy or exciting if you're like, oh, I just want the best player available, but it makes sense for the Giants. So we have 2 reasons. I just need to keep drinking this water. So we have 2 reasons we should trade back. 2 reasons. Reason number 1, money. So these players get paid. All players get paid in football. The higher you're picked, the more money you actually get paid. So first-round picks make more money than second-round picks. Picks in the top 10 make more money than picks from 20 to 11. So on that, the Giants have 2 top 10 picks. So obviously, that's going to be expensive. So I think we need to clear about $16 million is the calculation from what I read to use all the draft picks we have currently without trading back. So if we trade back, we could get more draft picks for later on, and we could save some money. So that's the first reason, money. If we pick a player at 5 and 7, they will be more expensive than if we got someone at like 5 and 19 or 5 and 13 or something like that, or 7 and 16. So trading back saves us some money. Secondly, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones right now is on the last year of his rookie contract, and we can pick up his 5th-year option, I think by May. So basically the Giants can say, we want Daniel Jones, we're going to extend his contract for a little bit cheaper right now, and we get him in 2023. But let's say Jones flops, and we don't want him. Then you don't want to pick up his 5th-year option. So basically the Giants will not pick up his 5th-year option because we're not sure what's going to happen with him yet. So on that, we might need a quarterback next year. Let's say the Giants go 6 and 11, 7 and 10. We're not going to be in the top 5 of draft picks, and we might need to be. So if we can trade back one of our first rounds, pick 5 or 7 this year, let's say we trade back with the Steelers, and then we get the Steelers' first-round pick for next year, it gives us the better opportunity to get a quarterback next year, kind of hedging our bet for the future. So I don't know if we'll talk about it here, but if we see a trade back during the draft for the Giants at pick 5 or pick 7, that is okay. It is actually probably good news for us. It just won't be as sexy in the moment. We'll have to wait a little bit longer for picks, but it would be the best choice money-wise and potential new quarterback in 2023-wise, which Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen might want their own guy after they see how Jones plays this year. I want Jones to ball out. I absolutely want Jones to be the quarterback of the New York Giants. We used the 6th pick on the kid. I want him to work out. But if it doesn't, I want to be able to get the best quarterback available. Let's keep going through the draft. Let me know if you guys agree with those reasons, by the way, if we should trade back or not. Mel Kiper of ESPN. Mel Kiper usually gives me a draft pick I like. Number 5, Evan Neal. Evan Neal is my favorite player in this draft. I am in love with Evan Neal. If the Giants can get him at pick 5, I will be ecstatic. I will be absolutely ecstatic. And it is possible. It absolutely is possible. But he could be taken by the Lions, the Texans, or the Jets. Maybe not the Jets. The Lions, the Texans, or the Jaguars. So Evan Neal, if we got him at 5, I'll be screaming. And then pick 7, Mel Kiper. If Kayvon Thibodeau is my second favorite player in this draft. He is a defensive edge, and he is an absolute beast. Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal have been projected to go 1 and 2 to the Lions and Jaguars. If we got them at 5 and 7, if we got out of the first round with Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, I would be shocked. I'm just going to say it. When people say this, I don't think this is true. These guys have had too much hype around them. They are too proven at what they do. People are going to want them. But hey, Mel Kiper says Giants are getting these 2 players. I'm down for it. If this was like the last list we did, we might not go through all these. Remember, it was long. I remember at the end, I was like, man, I should have looked at this list first, but I wanted my reactions. We got Todd McShay from ESPN. So these are all different draft analyst guys from different companies, NFL Network, ESPN. So pick 5, Eke Ekwonu again. 2 top tackles are Eke Ekwonu and Evan Neal. So either one of those guys, if we get them, that would be amazing. So Eke Ekwonu is a great pick at 5. Figure Evan Neal's gone to the Texans at 3. That's where a lot of people project him. So, and then at pick 7, safety Kyle Hamilton. I need to do some amendments on my opinion on Kyle Hamilton. So we lost Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan, and we only have Xavier McKinney at free safety. If we could pair Xavier McKinney with Kyle Hamilton, that would be absolutely awesome. And I watched film on Kyle Hamilton. I will put a link down below on film on Kyle Hamilton for you guys. Watch it. This guy is ridiculous. Safety is not as important a position as cornerback or as defensive edge, but this guy is insane. Kyle Hamilton is a very good player. If we get him, I will not be bummed. Will it be my first choice? No. Would I prefer a Sauce Gardner or a Derrick Stingley, the cornerbacks? Maybe. But this guy is more talented, I think. He just doesn't play the position that we need. And I know people, the biggest fight in the draft is, what do? Do you take the best player available or do you take the position of need? And some people really get very angry about this. I personally believe the talent is so close between these top 10 picks, taking position of need is more important. I think Sauce Gardner and Kyle Hamilton are so close in skill. Sauce Gardner's a better player because we're going to need a cornerback if Bradbury doesn't work out. Either way, Kyle Hamilton is better or is more acceptable to go to the Giants, in my opinion, now after watching some film and losing some of our players there. Safety's becoming a position of need. All right, we'll do a couple more here. So we have Peter Schrager from NFL Network. Eke Ekwonu, man. Eke Ekwonu. I'm okay with this. You can see he's been at pick 5 now 3 times. Who do we got at pick 7? Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker is an interesting player. He's an edge rusher, so we've talked about that. Kayvon Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, edges, players we need. Walker didn't have a great collegiate career. It wasn't anything special. I think he had like 7 sacks. But when he went to the combine, which is where you get like tested by all the teams and like you do all these like drills and stuff, he absolutely killed it. Like absolutely killed it. Like this guy was like in the bottom half of the first round to the middle of the first round. He's projected by some people to go number 2 by the Lions. Some people project him number 1 to the Jaguars actually. And I'm thinking that's crazy. Do I like Trayvon Walker? Let me put it like this. I like Kyle Hamilton, Derrick Stingley, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson. I like all those guys better, but Trayvon Walker has a lot of upside. He has a lot of untapped potential. And the Giants this year are going to be rebuilding, so bring in a guy who we can, bring in a top edge would be cool. I don't know. I watched Chase Young go to Washington. I've watched both the Bosas go to the 49ers and the Chargers. I'd like to have a top edge. But Walker's definitely not one of my favorites. Giants fans are definitely split on this guy. He's not particularly my favorite, but we'll see. Some people swear by him, especially the analysts. They love him. We have Charles Davis from NFL.com. Pick number 5, Evan Neal. Love it. Again, offensive line, guys. I'm telling you, Daniel Jones will be better. Saquon Barkley will be better. Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, they will all be better if our offensive line is better. Some people say in the NFL, you build in and then build out. Building in means you build your offensive line. Wide receivers, quarterback, you build the line first, though. So I love it. It's one of the reasons I don't want the Giants to take a quarterback in this draft, was we don't need one. That's not what we need right now. We need offensive linemen. Evan Neal, my favorite player. Watch some film on him. So good. Pick number 7, Jermaine Johnson. Again, I like him better than Trayvon Walker. You can see it's that edge. Again, Jermaine Johnson is just more proven. I personally like college film over combine results. Combine results aren't in pads, and they're silly, and some of them I don't think really matter for college players. We've seen players who absolutely kill in the combine not be good NFL players, and vice versa. So This would be I'd be happy with this. Steve Palazzolo from Pro Football Focus. Again, so Giants are taking a tackle at pick 5. That's what people really believe. Eke Ekwonu. So, love it. Eke Ekwonu or Evan Neal, I'm a fan. Pick 7, Derrick Stingley, the cornerback out of LSU. Depending on what happens with James Bradbury, we might need a cornerback. It's really 1A, 1B between Stingley and Sauce Gardner. Those are the 2 top cornerback prospects. I do believe the Jets have the safest bet for picking a player, and it's Sauce Gardner. The Bills have great wide receivers. The Dolphins have good wide receivers. The Patriots are getting better wide receivers. The Jets need to get a cornerback. So I believe that Steve here doesn't think Sauce Gardner would be at 7. He'd be taken at 4. If Sauce Gardner's taken at 4, that's great. I am fine with that. All right, let's do one more here. We got Bucky Brooks. Evan Neal. Guys, I think is every single time, let's just see. Evan Neal, Eke Ekwonu. Let's just see. Evan Neal, Eke Ekwonu, Evan Neal. Every single time it has been an offensive tackle taken at pick number 5. Every single time. All right, so we looked at Steve, Bucky, Evan Neal. I just like him a little bit better because he's a little bit better at tackle. Well, Ekwonu could play guard. The difference is the offensive line has a center in the middle, then you have your right and your left guard, then you have your right and your left tackle. Tackles are more important than guards, in my opinion. Neal's had a little more time playing tackle. So, and then at 7, Jermaine Johnson. So we've seen Jermaine Johnson pop up a few times. Again, maybe a little bit high for number 7. If we could trade back and then get him, that'd be great. But either way, I'm really liking the way these drafts are shaping up. Now, again, I do want to say, we actually might trade back. So, everyone's talking about taking players at 5 and 7. Sorry, I'm pulling something up here on the side. Taking players at 5 and 7, but I actually believe the Giants will trade back. So, we'll see, though. Everyone down below, let me know what you want for the NFL draft. Speaking of that, I'm trying to figure out what to do for it. So, I'm leaning towards not doing much for it. I'm leaning forward for just taking the day. It's going to be a Friday night, I believe, and just watching it. Maybe filming my reaction at pick 5 and 7, then posting it for you guys. But Talkin' Giants is going to be doing a pretty cool live pod or a live stream for it, which I might just tune into and listen to as well. And then maybe we'll do a recap video talking about what the Giants did and how I felt about it. Let me know if you guys want me to do a live stream, though. I can. I just don't know how much it's worth it, and maybe just hanging out on the couch having a few beers is more up my alley for this draft. I don't know, though. Very rare that you get 2 top 10 picks. It's pretty cool the Giants have that, so we'll see. We'll see. Let me know down below what you'd like me to do for the draft. Okay. Final thing is viewer questions. So what I'm going to do is on every podcast, I will go back to the previous podcast, pull up the comment section right here, and go through whatever questions we get on the last podcast. So Nightwind Archer, who's a good friend of mine, shout out to him. He asked some questions here, and so I wanted to answer those. And then if you guys have questions during this one, just put them down below, and next episode we will answer them. As a disclaimer, if I have a guest on, we will not answer them during that podcast. When I have the guests on, I like to just, focus on them, focus on Giant topics. When it's just me, I like to look at the chat, look at the questions, and then go through them. So Nightwind, thank you for the questions. Please keep asking, and anyone else ask as well. I will read them out loud for anyone listening on Spotify, so you can hear them as well. So, Josh first said, I'm really looking forward to Brian Daboll and seeing how his philosophy works out with the team chemistry. From the sound of it, it seems like his attention on wanting to satisfy the players' desires will lead to more team morale and chemistry. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not even the players' desires, it's understanding what the players are good at, and no one knows what the players are good at as well as the players. So, asking them, hey, show me your favorite plays. What do you feel comfortable running? That is a great way to build around a team. And, like we've talked about before, taking those round pegs and sticking them in square holes, even though Joe Judge said he didn't want to do that, they absolutely did that with Daniel Jones. So, I agree. Love it. 2. And I read this question before, and I need to read it out loud again. I was thinking about D tackles and sacks. I looked up online that a team will run an average of 70 to 80 plays a game. Yep. If a D tackle gets 1 sack a game, is that considered good? Making 1 sack out of 80 plays sounds almost inconsequential. It seems to me sacks are overrated. I would much rather pay a great cornerback than spend millions on a player that'll only get 1 or 2 sacks a game. What are your thoughts? Do you think sacks are overrated? Do I think sacks are overrated? No, I do not think sacks are overrated. I like QB sacks. I do. Defensive tackles, though. So the way it works on the NFL field is we're going to have our 5 offensive linemen, and then we either have 4 or 5 defensive linemen. And so then they get names as well. So a defensive tackle are usually bigger, heavier guys that maybe aren't as fast. They stand in the middle, and then defensive edges or outside linebackers stand on the outside, and they're trying to run around and hit the quarterback from either his blind side or just on the other side. So a defensive tackle getting 1 sack a game is actually considered pretty damn good. A defensive tackle, 1 sack a game, that would be a 17 sack season. That is actually ridiculously good. Defensive tackles are more known for stopping the run. So what a defensive tackle is trying to do is, there's another stat called QB pressures. Nightwind Archer, I implore you to look up quarterback pressures. It is actually a stat that a lot of people look at, and it is almost just as important as sacks. Pressuring the quarterback and rushing the quarterback is very important. Also, quarterback hits. How many times are you hitting him after he throws the ball? You hit a quarterback enough times, you can get in his head and start messing up his internal clock and get some results from that as well. Do I think sacks are overrated? Absolutely not. As a Giants fan, we see what it's like to be in the bottom barrel of a team getting sacks and how debilitating it is as a defense. Leonard Williams had, I think it was 12 or 13 sacks 2 years ago, and then he went down to like 5, 6, or 7 this year, and it was a big change. It was actually a big change. Those sacks can be game-changing. Paying a cornerback is a great move. So what you try to do, this is where football philosophy gets a little wild, is you try to draft positions that are expensive. Because when you draft a player, you don't have to pay them market rate. For example, if you draft a pro cornerback, cornerbacks are making $20 million, $22 million a year on the pro level, even more. If you draft a first-round quarterback and he's a superstar, you only have to pay him $12 million for 4 or 5 years. So cornerbacks and edges are the highest-paid defensive players. You want to draft them. And so I believe, I don't remember who said it, put it in chat, someone said it. They said, take $40 million and pay each cornerback $20 million because you know what you're getting, and then draft edge rushers. Because edge rushers are actually more expensive than cornerbacks. And so a good edge, if you can just pay him $12 million a year because you drafted him and you don't have to re-sign him yet to the market rate, it's a great way to save money. This is a good point, though. When you look at the stat, one sack for 80 plays, that's actually really good for a defensive tackle. And think about it like if a defensive tackle got 1 sack every game for 17 games, a 17 sack season for a defensive tackle is pretty damn ridiculous, if not unheard of. So 1 sack a game is actually extremely good for a D tackle. Edge rusher, 1 sack a game is good as well. A 17 sack season for an edge rusher is also very good. Nightwind, for example, the record held by a New York Giant and TJ Watt as of last year, but Michael Strahan, the record number of sacks in 1 year is 23.5 sacks. You might ask what a half sack is. A half sack is when you and someone else get there at the same time, you split it. So if you think the record all time is 23.5, and a player gets 17, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty close. So yeah, I'd say 1 sack a game is good. Don't get lost in the numbers. Sacks can be game-changing. So, but great question. And, a lot of football philosophy. Let me know down below if you disagree or if I said something that sounded stupid, because those are all possible. Last question. What is the least the Giants could do this coming season and still consider a successful season? Put it another way, what is the minimum you are hoping the Giants would accomplish this season? It's tough to answer because the truth is wins don't matter this year for the Giants, and as a Giants fan, people are going to dislike hearing that. If we went 1-16, but every single game we lost by 3 or 7 points and we're competitive all the way through, that would be amazing. Because we have a really good draft pick and a competitive team. What I think the Giants will do, I think the Giants will win 6 or 7 games. We have a much easier schedule this year, but we have a much less talented team than we did last year. Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, Evan Ingram, these guys were talented players that we don't have now. We got to hope the draft picks work out. But I think for me, all I want to see is competitive football every week. Win or lose, I want to see competitive football. If we lose by a field goal, I'm okay with that. If we lose by a touchdown, I'm okay with that. I want to see competitive football. What happened at the end of last year was we saw our team get injured. We saw we had no depth because our GM was inept to draft players, and our coaching staff was inept to inspire people. I want to see good depth for when players get hurt as much as we can, and I want to see a team that fights and also a team that's smart. The Giants weren't smart at the end of last year. They did nothing that made sense. QB sneaking it twice to get a better punt is not smart when your season's lost and you need to evaluate players. So for me, I just want to see competitive football. We go 0-17, but if every game was competitive, I'd be pumped. The better question is, what do I want to see from Daniel Jones? And that one I am still pondering. But as a team, I want to see competitive football. Football Grump, he was on a couple weeks ago, said, don't care about Daniel Jones winning or losing. We want to see Daniel Jones play well. So I think Daniel Jones' standard is going to be a stat standard. I don't want to see a ton of interceptions. I don't want to see a ton of fumbles, and I don't want to see any games lost or missed due to injury. But as a team, competitive football. That is what I want. Competitive football. Great questions. Thank you. Thank you. The second question was tough. The D tackle one, I'm like thinking it over. I'm like, good God, I may have answered that wrong, but let me know down below what you think. And for everyone listening, put questions in. I love going over questions. It gives me talking points. I enjoy it a lot. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know if I have anything else for you, so I just want to say one more time, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it the thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button. Please rate me on Spotify if you haven't and if you enjoyed it. There will be another guest on this Tuesday, so there will be a new episode up in just a couple of days. One of the things I'm pondering right now, and please let me know down below what you think, is a upload schedule. So Justin Pennick from Talking Giants, one of his tips was have an upload schedule. Always go up on the same day. I am thinking every single podcast will go up on Monday. I will film them on Sunday. They will release on Monday. Let me know what you think of that. This week we're going to have a Sunday upload, and we're going to have a Tuesday, or maybe I'll upload it Thursday upload. But either way, let me know what they upload. I'm thinking after this week, every episode will go up on Monday. Monday at let's say 8 in the morning. It'll be up at 8 a.m. and then anyone can watch it or hear it. Let me know what you think of that. And yeah, I appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the draft coming up. Let me know what you think we should do with that. Hoping there will be some more news to go over this week for the Giants. It is a quiet time, but the craziness will be coming. So, on that note, everyone have a good rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all soon. Peace.